I deeply treasure Final Fantasy X. It's a game that I routinely revisit throughout the years. As such, I wanted to make a video showing you mods for the game in greater detail than ever before. And I think when you put all these together, you get a definitive way to play one of the best games of all time. This also includes restoring PS2 Tidus' face back into the game. So if you love Final Fantasy X, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Guys, we are at 99.1k. My goal is to get 100k by the end of the year, and we are so close. So please, go ahead and push us over the edge. A link to all mods are provided in the description, and also always be sure to support the modders, and if they accept any sort of donations and you're feeling generous, please be sure to contribute so they can keep making these wonderful mods for us. Now, these first few mods are absolutely crucial for improving your experience with Final Fantasy X, and this first one is Untitled Project X. Untitled Project X is developed by Chaldean. This mod builds on the foundations of Special K, focusing specifically on the unique challenges of this game. Untitled Project X introduces several key enhancements, one of which is absolutely vital when it comes to playing PS2 ports such as this: the ability to skip cutscenes, something that a lot of early PS2 games didn't have. Simply by pressing Ctrl-Shift-H or select L2 plus X on a gamepad, by cycling up to 8x play speed, the game will go into skip cutscene mode, allowing you to achieve what even Square Enix couldn't with this remaster: the ability to skip cutscenes in Final Fantasy X. This being said, skipping cutscenes in Final Fantasy X is an absolute sin, and you will bring shame upon yourself and your family for several generations by doing this. However, if you lose a boss fight and you want to go directly to that fight again without wasting time or watching the same scene over and over again, this allows you to do exactly that. Now, personally, I love Final Fantasy X's English dub. That classic early 2000s dub voice acting is part of my childhood. However, many of you want to play with Japanese audio, and this mod allows you to do exactly that, and without any additional download. What's insane is that part of this game's file size on Steam is the Japanese audio. Those sets of audio come in all versions of the game, regardless of region, and while you can change text, you can't change audio. But now with Untitled Project X, you can play the game in both English and Japanese. It also fixes various bugs and improves compatibility with modern systems, so there's just no reason not to get this mod. It also enables all the other mods to work, so it's incredibly vital, incorporating all of these features and so many more that I haven't even listed out here. So I highly recommend checking this one out. The next would be the Mod Manager by FFX. This simplifies the process of loading mods in the Final Fantasy X. This tool provides an easy-to-use interface for installing, managing, and configuring various mods for the game, with features like automated mod installation, conflict detection, and customizable load orders. It streamlines the modding process, making it even more accessible for beginners. It's literally as simple as dragging the content of a zip file into your Steam installation directory, and you should be good to go. And the installation for Mod Manager should be easy, with it detecting your current installation of the game. It's worth noting here that some mods will only need Untitled Project X and some will need the Mod Manager. However, in either case, both of them are really easy to use, and it only amounts to dragging and dropping things into a folder to use these mods. Now, many players were dissatisfied with the facial changes in the HD remaster of Final Fantasy X, particularly the alterations of Tidus' appearance. There are ways to fix this and restore Tidus to his PS2 glory with two options. The first is PS2 Tidus Face Restoration mod, addresses these concerns by restoring the original PS2 model of Tidus. This mod is a true model swap, reverting back to the original PS2 model for the character. However, bear in mind that the PS2 model here is going to be much lower resolution, both in terms of poly count and texture resolution. This model swap does not have updated textures, and it won't render quite as well as it did in the original game. However, it does restore his original iconic face that so many missed when the remasters dropped. Not only that, but PS2 restore models for Yuna and other cast members as well, allowing you to get closer to the original PS2 look of the characters as much as possible. That said, I did notice a weird thing with this model swap where when Tidus closes his eyes, sometimes his pupils will actually clip through. Again, it's not perfect, but for those who are truly looking for that PS2 purist look, this option is right there for you. Then there is the second option. Tidus Old Face by Ruz is a mod that retextures the remastered Tidus model to resemble that more of the PS2 model with great success. However, bear in mind that the PS2 model has an entirely different mesh. So even with retexturing, there are some limitations on how accurate you're able to make this to the original model. However, I overall think this mod is probably the best option as it gets as close as possible to the PS2 version of Tidus, while still supporting incredibly high resolution textures. But what if you want to go further beyond what the PS2 offered? You want to make this game look even better? Then I highly recommend checking out Final Fantasy X Face Texture Tweaks by Elise. This mod makes all the characters in Final Fantasy X look tremendously better. Just look at the detail added to Auron's face. Each character receives a crisp and realistic makeover, enhancing their visual appeal without straying too far from their original designs. However, Wakka's new face is so realistic that it may catch some players off guard, as out of all of them, it's the one that diverges most notably from his original look, and from his low polygon model. The beauty of this mod though is its flexibility. You can apply this on a per character basis, allowing you to choose which characters to enhance based on your preference. So if for example you don't want to use the very realistic Wakka here, you can sub it out for another 4K or 8K mod. But I highly recommend this for most characters as this mod provides a fresh and detailed look that isn't too jarring and, in my opinion, enhances the overall visual experience of the game. However, if you already like the default look of the HD remaster characters and simply want to enhance that even further, I highly recommend checking out the HD retexture 8K and 4K Catachrism, made by user Catachrism. This mod doesn't deviate significantly from the look of the remaster, while adding up to 8K texture fidelity. This mod not only covers the main cast, it also covers all of the Aeons and many side characters such as Yunalesca. So even if you choose to go with the Face Texture Tweaks mod, I highly recommend downloading at least some of the Catachrism mods, as it's going to cover many other major models that you'll be looking at for a good chunk of the game. Now when it comes to Final Fantasy X HD Remaster, they mostly did a good job upgrading a lot of the textures in this game. However, things such as minor NPCs were barely touched in the game, leaving them at times painfully low resolution. The Better Textures mod by Fragoso fixes this exact issue, as it increases the texture resolution of all the low-res textures in the game. The only minor issue is that this was made before current AI upscaling technologies. It uses an older upscaler called the waifu algorithm, and unfortunately, it can wash out some of the detail and make everything a bit too smooth at times. However, this is still a lot better than seeing artifacts or painfully low-resolution textures. As a result, I still highly recommend this mod. That being said, if there is a modder out there who would want to make an upscaled Final Fantasy X using AI Gigapixel or something alike, that would be greatly appreciated. Next we have Alt Menus by Quacknog. The Alt Menu mod gives you an alternative background texture to look at, with a beautiful shot of the Brotherhood sword with Besaid Island in the background. And while it's nothing too advanced, I just feel it really enhances the aesthetic and vibe of the game. It's available in a few variations depending on how you feel about the texture of the menu commands, and I think it is definitely worth checking out. Now let's suppose you're not the biggest fan of Tidus. You can now replace him with Cloud Strife. Introducing the Cloud over Tidus mod, created by Dabi Bito-san. This model works on the field and in battle, and appears to be based on his Dissidia model. Bear in mind, when the game does swap back to the high polygon models, you will see Tidus for a second. However, whenever the game is using the low polygon models or the in-battle models, the game will default back to Cloud. However, I imagine if you're using this mod, you're not really looking for pristine visuals visual fidelity. Also, the lips are going to do a very weird thing whenever he talks during these scenes. You will find out immediately what I mean. But other than that, you can play as Cloud in the game, and it looks and performs great for what it's worth. Last but not least, we have the Blitzball Kid mod by Ray Bito. This turns the kid that wanted to be a Blitzball into a Blitzball. So if you are looking for a good meme mod for your stream, look no further than this one. Final Fantasy X is a game I will routinely return to for the rest of my life. And while modding a game like this, that's a remaster of a PS2 game with a proprietary engine, is incredibly difficult. In the future, I hope to see its modding community thriving even further as people continue to reverse engineer the game, add new features, change up the graphics, and more. In the meantime, be sure to support all these modders in any way that you can, with a link to all of their mods in the description below. And I'll see you all in the next video. Later, guys.